So this is the January meeting of the West Concord Advisory Committee getting started at 7:32. I'm going to take a roll call just to document who is here. And we are going to have to appoint someone to take minutes. And I'm wondering, John, if you could do that tonight. The minutes don't have to be like a super involved thing, but just bare bones documentation of what we're talking about and what we're voting on. I think you are up after like a 6-month hiatus, so hopefully that's okay.
Yep.
Will that work out all right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to take a roll call vote. Just kind of going through, seeing who's on the right of my screen here. Anna Feldweg.
Here.
John Cooley.
Here.
Greg Dorothy.
Here.
And let's see, where did we do no, Barbara.
Here.
Great. All right. And I'm Susan, the chair. I am here as well. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to bring up our agenda. Ooh, maybe we have another joiner. We've got Mimi. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So let's see. We've got another joiner, or sorry, we've got our agenda. Share this. Hopefully this is the right one. Yes, it is. Okay. So what we have on the docket right now is housekeeping, which I'm not quite sure that we have any housekeeping at the moment. So we can move on to minutes, and then we're going to talk about our committee's annual report, which Anna, during that time, can walk us through our Greenway idea, just because we're mentioning that in the annual report, and we realized that not every committee member had a chance to know about this in detail. And then after that, we're going to get into our master plan matrix, which I circulated just a little bit before this meeting. I did a little bit of kind of like detail reconciling work on that, and I'd love to share with you what I did pursuant to our discussion during December, and then talk through any more cleanup that needs to happen on that. And then we will also be talking about parking challenges and collaborations we want to do with other committees. And then we'll get into normal stuff like membership, liaison assignments, and planning our in-person meetings. Hopefully we can get through all of that in approximately an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I will try to move as quickly as possible. So we have minutes that we need to approve. And by my count, we have 3 sets, which should catch us up. I think the town still needs to get October minutes from us, which I'll make sure I send over. And then I owe September's. But we have a set of June, and we've got November, and we've got December. So I don't know, Barbara, do you want to share all of those as we go through them? Do you want me to share June, since I most recently got that and you never had your hands on it, or how should we proceed?
Easier for me if you share them all. I had nothing to do with June as far as I know. Did
Yeah.
I?
No, I got them from Greg shortly before the meeting, and then I sent them out to everybody on email, but it was kind of belated. So
Okay.
we can talk through these right now. Okay. So these are our June minutes, and I did make a couple of tweaks to them after getting them from Greg, listed out our attendees, and I'm gonna remove this note about Nicole.
I think we're still looking at the agenda.
Right.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Let's see. How can I fix that? Stop share. I'll do reshare. Yeah. Okay, I see what happened. I had picked exactly what document I wanted to share as opposed to the browser kind of following me around. So now you should see June. Yeah. Do you guys see that? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So let's see. Greg documented who was present, and then we also identified our outside attendees, which maybe this should be labeled something like other town personnel or something like that, or other town and committee members, because I think all of these folks have like official roles in Concord as opposed to being members of the public.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone remember what we would call this then? Would it just be something like town committee and personnel or something like that?
I just put them with their name and then their position afterwards.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I think there's another H in Hughes.
Yep. Hughhes. Yes. Okay. Elizabeth is the town planner. Then we had Alan Bogosian from the Historical Commission and Wendy, our select board liaison. Okay. And then I'll reconcile this, like I guess, resolve the changes after we get through to the end. So let's see, what did we talk about? This was a meeting that happened after our meeting with the planning board. So I think we were doing a bit of debriefing after that. We had talked in that planning board meeting about amending the WCAC charge. And I think if any amending was going to be done, it was on Elizabeth's plate. And I honestly haven't heard anything that anything has been changed, just to kind of catch us up to present day. But yeah, that was what we were talking about during this meeting. And just further ways to liaise with the planning board. And then we also had this discussion about defining who can become members of the WCAC. Okay. Let's see. Then we split up our master plan assignments, the matrix assignments that we are going to also be talking about today in a couple agenda items. And we had liaison reports, and we talked about doing website updates, which does still need to happen. Sounds like we can send those changes to Elizabeth when we need to make them.
Why is there a red E after her?
Oh, you know what? That is a spelling change that I was making, and it showed up. It still shows up, but it's like a crossed out E, if you see what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead. Um, all right. So I think what I need to do here, because I'm in Word, is tracking, accept all, and stop tracking. So this got messed up somehow. Like a weird symbol there. Okay. Anyone else have any additions to these or corrections?
From June.
Yeah, from June. If we can remember back that far, which I know I'm a little challenged to. Thank God for YouTube to enable us to watch these. I don't know why that will not change. That's kind of weird.
And maybe get rid of the capital M after Elizabeth.
Yes. Okay. There's like this strange little character thing.
Huh.
Well, I mean, I guess that's not messing things up too badly. I can try to change that before we submit these. Anyone else see issues with these?
No, I move we accept the minutes.
Ooh, I second that.
Yep.
I guess we all go through and say that we accept. So like, Anna, do you accept?
I accept.
Greg, do you accept?
Yes, even with my typos.
John, do you accept?
Yes, yep,
Linda, do you accept?
Yes.
And Allison, do you accept?
Yes.
Awesome. Great to see you both. Okay. Let's see. So that is June. And then I would need to move to November, right? And let's see. The best place for these is probably right here. Did you make any changes to these at all, Barbara, after circulating them or no?
No, only got a couple of comments, which were, looks fine.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, so this one, let me reshare. Okay,
You said you had a comment on the December one, but
yeah, I did. And I guess that'll come back to me when we look at it. Okay, so this one is from November. Here's all the people who are present. Okay. Go. Talking about the letter we wrote. I have a question. So in point number 5, it says the discussion about the master plan was continued. Maybe what we want to say is that the discussion continued, because sometimes in meeting parlance, doesn't it mean when you say something was continued, it means it got moved to the next subsequent meeting? Do you guys
That's
know what
fine.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and get rid of the was.
Okay. Oh, wait, can I change this?
As opposed to a continuation is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm thinking of. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to add this to my Google because, oh, open with, that's what I didn't do. Sorry, guys. I know I've got this taskbar. Okay, open with Google Docs. Can you still see the minutes
Yes.
now in Google Docs? Okay. All right.
And in 4, there's obviously a verb that's missing. And
Oh,
offer to write letter.
oh, yes. Offered to write a letter.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Parking challenges were raised. With regards.
Mhm.
Okay. Other side. Yeah.
Oh, but we didn't come up with the 5 questions, did we?
No, and that's
For the next-
because when we talked about it during our last meeting, we decided we needed to, I think, collaborate with the Economic Vitality Committee since they had some parking initiatives going, and we didn't want to like do double work or
Yep. Yeah, I
ruffle any
remember you right.
feathers. Yeah,
Mhm.
but that is something that we should talk about during our meeting now. Okay. West Concord Cultural Committee. This is really the West Concord Junction Cultural District Committee.
Catchy.
Okay. Great. Meeting with other committees. Right. Okay. Anyone else see things that need to be addressed here? I guess we could spell out committee here, couldn't we?
The first line in this one, where I'm also missing a verb. Susan suggested taking an inventory. As opposed
Oh, okay.
to inventory.
And inventory.
Our article.
An article. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, I make a motion that we approve these minutes. Do I have a second?
Second,
Great. Okay. Anna, do you approve the minutes?
Yes, I approve.
John, do you approve?
Yes. Mhm.
Greg, do you approve?
Yes.
Great. Let's see. Linda, do you approve?
Yes.
And Allison, do you approve?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So this is, I'm going to just put approved here and hold on while I move this stuff around. Minutes.
and do
These
you want to send
were,
those 2 back to me? With the-
yes, I do. Absolutely.
Yep, and I will get them to Heather.
That would be great. Okay. Just going to move these here. Cool. Okay. So then we go to December. Did it switch over for you or do I need to stop sharing and reshare?
No, it's good.
Okay. Cool. All right. So December 4th, got all of our attendees. Okay, we talked about the annual report.
Okay, so on the second bullet point,
Mhm.
West Concord Junction, what is it called? West-
Junction Cultural District Committee. Yeah. All right. So let me see. I need to open this. Edit latest. Yeah. Okay. Junction Cultures. Okay. So this was actually one that I guess I started making. Yeah, I started making edits on it. So we've got the Junction Cultural District Committee in here. Yeah, I should inflate the zoom of this because maybe it's kind of hard to see. Describing the activities. Okay, yep. View the remaining items. Vitality, articles from the planning board. Okay. I think some of these articles might have changed, but yeah, I joined the planning board meeting yesterday and they were talking about parking, but maybe some of these fall under a different subject area for them. And so they'll be doing articles on this another day.
Susan, actually, it's still relevant. What
Oh,
you heard
okay.
yesterday were new warrant articles being discussed. So what you have is still
Oh,
correct.
okay. Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification. Chair breakfast. Yeah, meeting adjourned. Cool. Okay. Conversation. Okay. So does anyone see any other changes that are needed to these minutes? Okay. In that case, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for December. Do I have a
Second,
second? Great. Okay. So I'm going to go through. Linda, do you approve?
Yes.
Greg, do you approve?
Yes.
Allison, do you approve?
Yes.
John?
Sorry, I think on the 13B point, didn't we also discuss parking as being an issue for the developer in addition to cost increases?
Um, so yes, I think when we spoke to the developer in our meeting, they had some questions about why they couldn't just have, I think, on-street parking that kind of helped them get to their parking minimum that they needed. And they were told that they couldn't do that. And then when I followed up with the developer just over email, they didn't really mention parking as being a concern. They were just saying that costs were a concern in terms of interest rate and construction and all of that. Do you, I don't know, do you want us
I-
to note parking as being a past issue?
but that wasn't a part of our discussion during the meeting. It might go into the annual report.
The reason I said is I think I brought it up, I think, on the December meeting.
Yes, yeah,
right.
you did. Let's see. This was in the context of like, what should we include in the annual report? And so we were kind of going through the laundry list of developer conversations that
Right.
we had had. And so it came up in the context of that. Is there something that we should note about that? Like that, should we say
I
like,
guess we can leave it. I just thought I brought it up, but I think the discussion was sort of like, well, it seemed like his focus was more on costs. I just think that there's an ongoing debate. I mean, there's obviously like the warrant article or whatever about the parking
mhm,
bylaw that's active right now.
mhm.
So I thought just maybe we want to make a like a little note here about there has
Yeah,
been,
maybe, yeah.
yeah.
Should we say like, John pointed out that, the developer for 13B had, was challenged by parking requirements
Yeah, yeah,
with
something
their
like
most
that.
recent design or something. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
John said that developer of 13B was
You want to
challenged.
put it there, or do you want to put it with the first bullet point?
Yes, first bullet point would be a better place. See. Yeah.
You can just say the proposal has been slowed by cost increases and concerns about parking. Given that
Yeah.
parking is such a major issue right now, doesn't do us any harm to keep mentioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the minutes have now been amended since some people approved them. So we may need to go back through and have approvals. Does anyone else see changes that you would advise for these minutes?
Can you just say all in favor,
Sure. Okay.
opposed to going to each individual
Yeah.
person?
Yes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Okay.
All
Great.
opposed?
All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes will be approved for December. Okay. Thank you for the procedural coaching. All right. And then I'm going to do what am I going to do? I'm going to move these. I have to do this because otherwise sometimes I've closed out of meetings and realized that for whatever reason my changes didn't save, and that is just devastating. Okay. Minutes. And we will deposit these in the proper spot. Cool. Okay. So I think, do I have my agenda here? No, I don't. Let me go back to my agenda. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is editing our annual report. And I know I circulated that over email, and let's see, I think Nicole had some feedback, which I guess what I can do is start with the document she sent back to me, because I'm not sure if anybody else directly sent me feedback, but please correct me if I am wrong on that.
No, did not send you anything.
Okay, so let me grab, she sent. Hold on one second. Hold on one sec. So Nicole minutes. No, it was Nicole report. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's start going over the copy that I have, and then hopefully I can, during the course of that conversation, find what Nicole had suggested so we can include what she had wanted as well. She was just flipping a couple sentences around from what I remember. So let's see. Annual report. Oh my gosh. Here we go. share. Okay, can everyone see the annual report document?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So, some of this, I don't know, admin stuff I can resolve myself, like whether or not we need any of the planning board support that we have to be listed with our committee. There seems to be a convention of doing that in some cases, but I can sort that out with Elizabeth. But here is the meat of it. So if you want to just take a sec to look at this, you can figure out if we want to say things differently or say something else. Move this down a little bit. Seems like it shouldn't have a comma.
There's a minor thing,
Mhm.
and we didn't know it when you wrote this letter, but there was a meeting at the so this is, we wrote a letter of support for the Giroux Recreation Area Phase 2. That's, I'm talking about that paragraph. There was a meeting with Recreation, and everybody sort of agreed that it didn't make sense to add another boat launch at Giroux when there was already one along Commonwealth Avenue that the Recreation Department wasn't as aware of.
Oh,
So that actually, it's really more about the raised walkway and other improvements now. I don't know if you want to change it, but I was just thinking it
yeah.
might confuse somebody somehow
Yep.
if they read it.
I think other improvements is a good way to do it.
Okay.
I think you did a nice job explaining why things that are not in the business district that we are having conversations about, that, you know, that they connect to the business district. I just have a comment on the first paragraph,
Okay.
and it's really just to break up that first sentence into two sentences.
Okay.
So at the end of planning board, end the sentence there,
Okay.
and then as it in front of was.
Okay.
Yeah, we need a
Wait,
verb.
yeah, that's not a
You need an
sentence.
is in there in that first sentence.
Oh, yep. Yep.
The committee. And then I'd be inclined to take the first sentence of the second paragraph and add it at the end of West Concord Advisory Committee, because it explains who we are or what we do.
Mhm.
Which I think is important because having had many people ask that question of me recently,
Yeah.
where'd everybody
Yeah.
go?
So, okay. So let's see. Let's see what that looks like.
I pointed at my screen and everybody went away. Shoot,
So
you think I'm kidding?
we can still hear you.
I know, I just can't see anything. I can see the agenda. Hold on, let me see. If not, oh, there we go.
Oh, you must have a like a touch sensitive monitor or something.
Yeah, who knew, right? I mean, I know my laptop
Yeah.
touch screen. This is a big, huge other monitor. My
Well,
son's business.
Well, see now, okay, so now we achieve better collaboration with the planning board through 2 additional joint, needs to be back with the total number of meetings. Maybe just put that sentence about added 3 new members at the beginning, say, we're a subcommittee of the planning board we have X total members, 3 of which are new in 2024 or something like that.
Yeah, it
Just as
just,
a
it's
matter of background at the
right up
beginning.
front who we are and what, more or less what we do.
Okay. So we are a subcommittee of
We
the
already have that.
plan.
I'm just saying you could
Oh,
add,
sorry.
I
Where
was just
is
saying
that?
the well, you say the WCAC is a subcommittee of the planning board,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
you could
Yep.
just say we have, X number of members, 3 of whom were added during 2024 for a total membership of, whatever. Yeah, perfect. And then just the
We-
WCAC.
Yeah. Okay, so let me clear that out.
And then you can add that we achieve better collaboration now as part of that 10 times. We met 10 times, and then 2 additional joint meetings,
Is there a
And you
comment?
could say, sorry. I was just gonna say, you could make a new paragraph there where you're about to press your cursor, yeah. And then join
Yeah.
that other one there. Yep, there we go.
Okay, yes, I like that. Okay. All right, so we haven't gotten to the Greenway yet, which I've got a paragraph in here about this, but I'd also love for Anna to walk us through the concept, since she reminded me that we did present it to another committee, but it never kind of got a full airing in our committee. And there's I think like 10 slide presentation about it. Anna, are you comfortable talking about that either now or maybe when we get done with this letter, just to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with what that entails?
Yes.
Okay.
Either
Um,
time.
okay.
I have to say, this is the first I heard of it. Was I asleep at one of the meetings? I don't, when was this?
And it's not only you, it's the first I've heard of it too.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't,
it's a major accomplishment. No, it's a great
it's
idea.
awesome. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this
idea
is great.
wonderful, but
Yeah.
when did it get discussed at our meeting?
I
don't
think
think
it
it
got
ever,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't think it ever got discussed other than, I think I mentioned one time the idea, which is just to make people more aware of all the green and blue spaces very close to the center of town that
Mhm.
you can get to on foot or on the rail trail or whatever, and sort of increasing awareness of that. But then right after we mentioned it, Susan and I or Susan was invited to the West Concord Junction District, the meetings. And so we put together just a tiny slide presentation to talk to them. And then we wanted to come back to you because, it started there and we never did. So
Yeah.
that's what happened.
So I apologize for that. I think like we shared it with the cultural district committee, and then it just kind of seemed as if everyone on our committee was familiar, and our committee was also like adding a lot of new members at that time as well. So maybe that kind of played into it. But because we are very excited about it, maybe Anna, do you want me to give you sharing so that you can share the slides, or do you want me to try to step through them? Or I
Do
can like
you
put them on the screen.
Yeah, if you have them, go ahead. I mean,
Yeah. Let's see.
Can I ask,
Um,
what was the reaction at the West Concord Junction Cultural District Committee?
people liked it. I mean, it's kind of hard to object to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Committee
really
name
not,
is too long.
it's nothing other than increasing awareness of what we already have. So I think people were like, very favorable.
Yes. Do you guys see a title slide in front of you right now?
Yes.
So
Okay,
you
great.
could go to maybe, you can just skip through the first couple of them because we were just sort of saying what the
Who we are, yeah.
WCAC is to the other group. And we had
Yep.
discussed these two things, and we were talking about how our areas of influence overlapped, and we kind of hope to make them together. And these were our priorities. which are the same things we've already been talking about. And then I think the next one starts the Greenway.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so we
Okay.
said we have this idea. We wanted to float it and see what you thought. So basically, we all think that change is ahead for West Concord, because we suspect that our population density is going to be increasing dramatically in the next 10 years. So the important things that have happened are the passage of the MBTA Communities Act and also the coming availability of the MCI land. And we were hoping to sort of think about these things so that when the developers are ready and start asking what we want, we can be ready. And what we wanted to do was try to preserve and promote our green and blue or our water spaces because we have a lot of water right near town. So next one.
Yeah.
So many cities and towns have various types of greenways. So like the ones everyone knows are the Emerald Necklace in Boston and Brookline, Boston's Rose Kennedy Greenway. On the right is a picture of Lowell's Greenway, which is just a mile long and it goes right along the riverfront, right down in the sort of factory district. Lawrence has a much more elaborate one. I think that's the picture on the left. And Peabody has one too, and they're all different. So what I was thinking about for West Concord on the next slide is maybe simply drawing attention to the different green and blue spaces that are accessible without a car from the center of town. And when you start to list them out, it's pretty impressive. So we have the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, which, you know, goes a long ways, but as far as what's right in Concord, it goes from Warner's Pond to White Pond. We have Giroux Park, which is being developed. We have the pond itself and the boat launch on Commonwealth Avenue. And other communities have small sort of self-serve kayak and canoe rentals where you put money in and you can get a boat out of a locker. We have space to do something like that there. So we wondered about enhancing that a little bit. We have Warner's Pond Dam and the Pocket Park that a lot of people don't even know about, right at the right next to Kenny Dunn Square. And we all know that Kenny Dunn Square needs to be made safer and probably modified in some way or another. So it would be nice to maximize the park area there, like the green area there. We have Neshoba Brook itself running right through town. And then next slide. This was back in the very early spring. Not everyone knew that the pavilion had been completed on Warner's Pond, so I threw in a picture of that. But let's go to 12.
Okay.
Then we have trails and a canoe launch off Baker Avenue. We have Junction Park itself, that little area by the depot, and the gardens tucked through the center of West Concord. We have Rideout Park. We have West Concord Park and all the trails in that area, like the Pigeon Hill trails. A lot of people who live very close to town, if they're new, don't even know that exists. And then we have the Assabet River. We have the Assabet River Bluff Trail, which is relatively new. And we have the Old Rifle Range. Next line. So I think it could be a cheap thing to do, to just basically put up some signage and start to call this the West Concord Greenway and sort of feature the fact that each of these places is completely unique and kind of delightful in its own way. It offers, each one offers something a little bit different. We could, if like the West Concord Cultural Junction District, which is very interested more in having little art installations, we could partner with them for some of those. Next slide.
Yeah.
And maybe we could put up signages or have a pamphlet that kind of challenges people to discover and visit each of these places and just see what they're all about. And next slide. These are some examples of things. There's also, you can do something like this where all the signs are sort of coordinated so they visually kind of tie in with each other. Next slide. And also just setting this precedent that our green and blue spaces have to be protected and preserved and enhanced as we get more developed. And there are just lots of things that we could do on the MCI land, even if it gets developed with multiple uses and commercial things, because we need the tax base. There's still spaces for things like community gardens and pollinator gardens and small art installations and all these different kinds of parks. But this would be sort of like if we did something like this for West Concord, we could say, you know, this is what we're talking about, and we'd like to extend it through the MCI land. Next slide. And we know that Concord residents do care about their blue and green spaces because the October 2017 Envision Concord survey, I thought really played on this quite a bit. So open spaces and natural resources such as ponds and parks and trails were considered the #1 category that contributed to the quality of life and the health of Concord residents in those survey results. And open space and recreational opportunities were a major reason that people moved to Concord, which I think is absolutely true. I mean, that's why I love Concord, because you can take your dogs out and like instantly be in the woods. It's very unique. And in that survey, residents said that 40% of people said that they visited parks and trails multiple times per week. So these findings were featured in the Envision Concord Bridge to 2030 as well. So that we have a lot to build on, saying that people care about these things. And then the last one. So we asked the other group if they would like to collaborate, and we thought that we could start by having a walkabout, which didn't happen. But that was the plan.
Yeah.
That was the idea that I floated.
Yeah. And I think this idea is really important to hold on to because as Anna mentioned, we're talking about the MCI property and that'll be like years in figuring out what is going to go there. But we want to make sure that it connects well, not only with like the built environment, but also with the green spaces and the blue spaces that we currently have. Like it would be great if it just kind of seamlessly connected to everything that we've currently got. And I think this idea of naming everything as part of a series gives it more weight in people's minds and elevates it more. We just have to kind of gather up what we currently have and bring it to people's attention and maybe give it some continuity again through signage if we could possibly do that.
Well, that's
Yeah,
fine
and
to include it in the letter in that case. I think too, where it says that we're calling it a concept at this point. My concern initially was it never got presented to this committee, actually. But by calling it a concept, I know Anna certainly mentioned it as a concept, and that's what got you guys to go to the other committee, whose name I'm not going to try to repeat. I think it's fine to put it in the way that it is then. It raises it, and then we can continue from there this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it puts a good stake in the ground.
Is that slide deck available online as a resource?
I can, where could I put it so everybody could get to it? I
We
can
should
send it to all of you.
Yeah,
Actually,
it got
I did.
circulated.
sent
Yeah,
it-
it
yeah,
got
you sent
circulated
it to
before the
us.
meeting. We can ask Elizabeth to put it up.
Heather
Yeah.
could post it.
Yeah. Elizabeth and Heather can post
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
I mean,
it could be-
it's actually enough valuable information that you could start by just having it online and that people could go refer in one place to the blue and green spaces. I mean, I would probably use it myself just for ideas about things to do. So, you know,
Yeah, and the exciting thing about MCI Concord is there's going to be a lot of riverfront there. And I'm sure a lot of
Absolutely.
people have sort of ideas about what should happen there, but it should be sort of front and center when we start to talk about it, you know, like how are we going to preserve some piece of it to be really for everybody?
Mhm.
Well, in the Junction Village, 12 acres that's down at this end, some of that's housing, but a majority of it is open space.
Hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
That's great, Anna.
Yeah.
It's really good thinking.
Yeah. Should we put that upcoming Junction Village space into the presentation, like as something that we know is on the docket or eventually going to become available? Because it's so close to MCI, I feel like it kind of bridges from what is in the village to what's in MCI. It kind of connects, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, it might be nice to have like a little, some kind of little map to point out where exactly we're talking about.
Yeah,
Has
like
anybody
yeah.
I
seen
think the
anything?
Junction Village is going to happen probably before anything happens at the other 52 acres, because they have an RFP that's going out sooner rather than later. They held it off for a while, but they now have it. And I mean, there's no reason we can't share this idea with
No, not at all.
CHC
Yeah.
and, you know, tell them
And
we'd
we
like
can,
to.
if you're all okay with it, we could say that it's our idea as a group. I
Mhm.
mean, I think the more it just seems like a collective idea, the better.
Definitely.
Can we see the area that you're talking about, Barbara, on one of those earlier slides?
Maybe.
You want to
Let
flip
me
back,
see.
Susan?
Yes. Maybe
Yeah, it
here?
would be either there or where we show the two overlapping areas. But
Yeah.
Let's see.
yeah, maybe on the right-hand side, is it in?
What's the really bright, I don't want to touch it again, my screen will go away. On the left schematic, what's the really darker pink? Yeah, that.
Hmm.
That
Well,
would
this
be
is Main
that would be
Street.
the general area, I think, because it does abut the river.
That's a good question. It probably is in our where we got that image probably has a key.
Yeah,
What's that?
Yeah.
the
What that's
previous one
called.
had 1, 2, 3 more down, and it's not that critical necessarily. So Lawsbrook and Commonwealth, the dark bluey green,
Hmm.
Yeah.
the top, yeah, that piece right in there.
Hmm.
And it's about 12 acres, and it does abut the river. And there was a whole other committee that will work on it once the RFP gets awarded. So there'll be a housing of some kind, and then in the previous proposal, the housing was only going to take, I don't know, no more than 4 acres, and the rest of it was open space.
Hmm. And does anybody remember who that group is that's overseeing the development of that? Like
No, but I
who
would,
granted the RFP?
Charlene, what's Charlene's last name? Very
Or
active.
is it Carlene actually?
Carlene, yes,
Arlene
yes.
Hempel, Edgers?
I-
Okay.
Carlene Hempel, yeah.
I would
Chris,
also just reach out to CHGC.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's who's doing it.
Krista, do you want to make a comment? Krista's a member of the public, but go ahead, Krista.
Yeah, hi, Krista Collins, 55 Highland Street. I was gonna jump in and say that, yeah, it was I was on that committee with Carlene.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I can't even remember what we were called, the Junction Village
Another
Open
version
Space
of the
Task
same
Force or
words.
something like that. Yeah, but we had a whole design that was done for the riverfront area. And then when the plug got pulled on the development, we kind of everything went away. But a lot of it is in the riverfront setback and can't be developed anyway. But it would be I love this whole greenway idea, and it'd be really great to see that connection made between the riverfront path by Concord Park, connect along the Junction Village parcel, and then ultimately through the MCI Concord, and hopefully someday then across the river on the other side of Route 2. So
Yeah.
I love this. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So if we were going to put that parcel in here somewhere, I think Anna had a list of what we've got now.
What's the best name for that
Some
parcel?
more.
It could probably go at the top of this list.
Right here.
Yeah.
They're still referring to it as Junction Village, so open space connected to the potential Junction Village or something that, yeah.
Okay.
Junction Village open
Open
space,
space, yeah.
and then maybe in parentheses, to be developed, so people don't think it's a done deal.
Sure.
Do you think developed means though, like something more like the built environment? And maybe we should say like coming soon or part of the Junction Village
Future Junction Village
project?
open space. Put
Future
future in the front.
Okay.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Great. Does
Cool.
anyone else know of other things that I left out?
I was wondering about the trails. Does anyone know about the trails at the end of Wright Road that
Oh,
go
yeah.
along the brook over there? I don't know if anyone's ever seen them. They connect up to, I don't know what they're called. But there's a really beautiful trail along, I guess
Fort
it's
Pond or
Fort Pond
Pond
Brook.
Brook.
Yeah, it's actually really lovely.
And that's no farther than the old rifle range, like in a different direction, but no farther.
Oh, no, it's closer than the old rifle range for sure.
Closer. Okay.
Yeah.
So trails trails at the end of Wright Road overlooking Fort Pond Brook.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
I mean,
one,
there's so much.
the one behind, where the West Concord vet is and the, um, what, Domino Drive, the acres behind there that I go to every day. I thought it's called West Concord Woods.
West
It's
Concord
not,
Woods.
I
because
think is that what someone called West Concord Park? That's
Oh,
Pigeon Hill.
That's what I wondered, yeah.
Yes,
I
and
thought
that
you
I
meant
think,
West Concord Park. I didn't know what you meant by that. Sorry, maybe that's the same then.
But maybe it is woods. I always forget what it is.
I think it's park. I looked it up because it doesn't seem like it should be called park.
Yeah.
It
Let me
seems like it
just,
should be called woods.
Park/woods. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
What about the woods off of Pine Street that sort of go between Pine Street, gosh, when I used to live over there, and
like behind the Thoreau School.
oh, there's those. No, but I'm talking about the other way. Like if you're on Pine Street, between Pine Street and along the river toward the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, like there's woods in there that have trails.
Is that part of the bluff?
Yeah,
That
that's
is
the
the bluff,
trail.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Do we want to put Cousins Park in here? Like that's kind of in that neighborhood
Cousins
across
Field.
Cousins
Yeah.
Field. Yeah.
Is that down by
and the
Vero
one,
Farms?
There's actually a
That's
trail
row.
all along the river on one side of Cousins Field.
Right.
yeah, that's the one I was on this morning. Is that what you're calling the Assabet
Bluff
River
Trail.
The
or Bluff
Ossibet
Trail?
Bluff one is the one that comes off Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and it's the new one that goes up on the little bluff.
Right. And
That's-
they're going to be,
I'm not
there's
sure
going
I
to
know
be
what
some
that one
affordable
is.
housing go in there.
Right.
That's the one that
Because
goes to
off of
Pine,
Old Marlboro Road.
that we were just talking about. Goes to Pine through the woods along the river to the
Well,
rail
we
trail.
don't have to list every single one.
Yeah.
At this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But
At some point, we look at all trails and just get them all. But
Yeah,
Yeah, we could even try and run it by natural resources because
Mhm.
they actually know all the trails. They have pamphlets for most of these.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes,
and there's like the trails that go behind Marshall Farms. I'm not sure if that is accounted for here, but there's a
yeah.
bunch of trails by the Assabet there.
yeah,
You
and
guys
we have
were
a
right. It's
trails
West Concord
committee,
Park.
right? Concord has a trails committee.
Yeah, I'm on the site right now. And they have a
Okay.
whole bunch of trails maps, so I confirmed it's West Concord Park. You guys were right. That's not West Concord Woods.
Okay.
And there's something called Westvale Harrington, which is the one Marshall Farms. That's what that's called,
Mm,
just in
okay.
case anyone cares.
But you know, this
Uh,
is a unique, I think, town, it reminds me of like when you go to Britain and there's all these public walking trails and hiking trails, like weaving in and out of people's neighborhoods. And you
Mhm.
don't see it that often in this country, but we're really lucky. And I think I just worry that people don't know about it, so it could get lost, it could get taken over, developed, whatever, like, whereas if we
If
call
you
it
make it a
something,
greenway, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. I don't know what it's called, but there are a bunch of trails behind the Thoreau Club. That's kind of the closest trail system to me. They have like a little kiosk that has brochures and stuff over there, but I don't know what it's called. I can look that up.
So we could talk to people and figure out how it, you know, what classifies you for being part of the greenway? Like, is it sort of, you know, that it radiates out from the center of town and you can walk there? I mean, are those our criteria? Or they
Yeah.
all connect in some way so that, you know, in theory, you could travel along it? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because at some point, someone might be like, well, aren't you just identifying the trail system in Concord as a whole? You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
overlapping what natural resources has done. So we would want to have like a
Some
more
something else that,
criteria. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay. So I think maybe what we can do is, we're including this in our annual report. We can also post this presentation on the website, on our organization's website, and then start kind of talking to different committees about this idea and getting some support and thinking about like what is the action that we think maybe we can take on it during this calendar year. Maybe it's getting a map that shows all of these, and then at another time we're going to be able to get signs. I don't even know. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, surmising that we might be able to do those things.
I mean, we could ask for CPC funds for signage if people agreed and everyone was excited about the idea.
Hmm.
I think a map's a good way to start because it shows how they're connected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. This is great. Let's see if there's anything else we need to put in here. Emphasize connection, present this idea, and are eager to create a draft map and collaborate on other committees with it. You think that helps make a concrete next step?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. We need to get moving here. We reviewed the West Concord master plan matrix.
They're missing another article there after 2010, yeah.
As a checklist. Yep. Okay.
Sometimes I know in the past, in the town report, it's fine to say we're looking for additional members with particularly with these kinds of backgrounds. What did they say? Architecture, land planning, business development.
Mm-hmm.
And if we put that at the end of the whole thing, then for people who read the town report, it's just another way to try and get the word out.
Yep. That's a great idea. In land planning, architecture. What else?
Is land planning and urban planning the same?
I don't know. We could put both.
Is it business development? I don't know. What were the other things? There was something that Elizabeth mentioned at one point. She kind of went down. It'd be nice to have people who had these particular skills.
I can ask her if
And
you
other
want.
related skills. We don't have to put every single thing in there.
Yeah. Architecture.
Because you have to send this along in the next 2 days.
Yes. We also have to select pictures to go along with some of this. And I feel like after seeing some of the photos that Anna has in her presentation, maybe I could pull from there. But if anyone else has thoughts about where we can liven this up with pictures, they did say infographics and stuff like that. I'm not certain that we have the bandwidth to undertake that or anything that is infographic worthy unless we were to take all our work on the master plan and try to look at numbers of things that had been completed, numbers of things that had not been completed, et cetera. I don't
No.
know if
That would
people
be
are
kind
really
of
that
interesting.
excited. It would be interesting. So yeah, I guess if we were to do that, I think that is due in like a week or something like that. If we were to
If you
do
were to
that,
do what again?
Sort
to
of some
do,
kind of graphic to show what got done from the master plan, like the date that the master plan was looked at, and then we looked at it again here and how much got done in between. That would be, I mean, or I'm interested in that after what we went
Right.
through.
yeah. After all of this, it needs
Yeah,
to turn
I'm
into
not sure.
something.
I'm not sure how relevant it would be to people reading the report, only because so few people even are aware that a master plan exists from 2010.
Right.
That's a point. I mean, you're welcome to use whatever from the slides we made.
Yeah,
If you
let's pull
think.
something, let's not make more work. Pull something from the slide deck that might demonstrate
Yeah.
how it's possible to connect some of these things.
Yeah. Let's see.
So
Well, that's
the
pictures of
the
something.
text is due in 2 days, and then the info, any pictures are due after that? Is that what you were saying?
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even those, Susan, even pictures of the things that we did discuss. You know, they're not the most interesting pictures, ENS and
Yeah.
B, but it's a demonstration of the kinds of things that we spend time talking about.
Yeah. The thing that I'm grappling with a little bit is like our intense conversations about these properties and then also the 1053 Main happened really in 2023, and then they made their way through the planning board after us during
Mhm.
24. So I guess I'm a little torn about whether we should put pictures of them in or not. I can ask Elizabeth. I wonder if maybe the planning board would be featuring pictures, or I don't know what the level of their picture using is going to be.
And I know they like pictures, but you don't have to, having done this for many years, you don't have to supply a picture. They'll put it
Yeah,
in.
I know. They're trying to win a annual report award this year, apparently.
Oh,
So like
okay,
the bar has been raised.
that's different.
So, but I do think I've got pictures and, you know, my partner is a photographer, so we'll figure something out for pictures that can go into the report that glorify West Concord. Don't you worry. Okay, so let's see. I just want to get back to, oh geez, this. I think everyone's had a chance to at least skim this, if not read it in depth. Are you feeling good about it? Like it accurately reflects what we worked on?
Yeah.
I've got some paragraphs at the end that kind of are more forward looking, and I wanted to do that to kind of explain to people who might not know our committee very well that we are like very ready to weigh in on everything that's happening in West Concord. A lot of the development hasn't involved us because it's been 40Bs, which kind of take a different route through approvals in the town, but certainly those big multifamily projects are going to affect us. Hopefully they'll bring a lot more vibrancy to West Concord Junction, a lot more customers shopping, a lot more people getting engaged, but also like I'm trying to make the point in this is we have to be ready for that. Like our committee has identified issues with the current level of, you know, people coming to our town assets, and we just want to build on the successes and solve the challenges so that we can host a lot more people in our town center soon.
Yep, no, I think it's nice to go forward that way.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it just occurred to me going back, Anna had some nice pictures of Giroux Park
Yes, yes, yes,
in
yes.
the presentation, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little things, pics to remind myself. And then, one thing I realized after I made this letter that we didn't mention was the completion of complete streets, which did happen during 2024. And granted, it was Public Works who did all of that in terms of like making the sidewalks ADA accessible and repaving the street and making sure the crosswalks were marked again and stuff like that. We should not take credit for that, but I wonder if we should celebrate that and mark it somehow in what we've got written up, because it is a huge improvement.
Was Complete Streets, was this committee involved in that in its early planning? And then it was handed off to Public Works, or like, how did that evolve? So it was before my
That
time.
is it's kind of before my time
It's
too. Like
before my time too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we did hear from Public Works, I think at least a couple of times during 2024, them describing the work that was going to happen and showing us what their plan was for crosswalks. And I think we weighed in. So there was our involvement kind of like hosting them to talk about the project, and the members of the public could join and hear about it as well.
Mm.
So, but we weren't, dictating anything with that. Certainly, it was more like bringing our town center up to kind of like state regulations about what it means to be accessible.
Linda, you might know, is the Complete Streets tied in with, because we both had the sort of street and part of the updating of the West Concord master plan. Was that the end of that? Because I think some of those streets and improvements were on that West Concord master plan that we got to tick as done.
I'm afraid I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. It may go back that far. Some of it may go back that far,
Yeah. Well, so I think the Complete Streets project embodied a grant from the state in order to make all that work happen, and then deploying the work associated with the grant took a number of years, and we saw it come to fruition in 2024. Krista may actually know a little bit more about this. So I don't know, Krista, do you have your hand raised to talk about this?
Actually, Jeff gonna jump in here. Jeff
Oh,
Collins,
hey, Jeff, how
55
are you?
Highland Street. How are you, Susan? Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too.
Former member of the advisory committee. So way back when Brookside Village was developed, there was a commitment from them to create a crosswalk with bump outs. So that was like one sort of pin in the pin board to get that Complete Streets project launched. And then we did host a forum, like a community forum, talking about Complete Streets. We had a speaker from Walk Boston come and talk about, how to plan complete streets. And I believe we sort of gave a wish list to CPW, and then they pursued that state Complete Streets grant to do the work down there. So that was a conversation that was a decade in the percolating.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like we should memorialize that somehow in here, just acknowledge that members of the WCAC that preceded us were part of um, the scoping of the Complete Streets grant application, and then the work happened in 2024. I mean, Jeff, would you say that was like in the early 2010s that all happened?
Yeah, if anyone can remember when Brookside Village went up, I guess that was just
Brookside, okay.
2008, something like that. So yeah, I'd say early tens would make sense.
2024 saw the completion of projects begun by this committee back in 2010 and something along that line.
Yeah. Projects gone. Street. I'd probably have to look at the Complete Streets page on the website in order to kind of like develop a summary of what that was, but
It's the wider sidewalks, it's the bump outs, the repaving for sure, because we were worried it wasn't gonna get done in time. Sidewalks, not sidewalk, crosswalks.
of it was additional crosswalks plus the ones that had gotten paved over with the repaving, right? I think.
And the point of the wider sidewalks is that they are accessible?
Yeah, for ADA compliance.
Right.
Yeah,
The
they're also traffic. I think they're also considered to be traffic calming, the wider sidewalk.
okay, and traffic calming. So you should complete.
That last word should be crosswalk, not sidewalk.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, I said sidewalk first, so it's my mistake to begin with.
Okay, complete streets improvements in West Concord Village.
Included or includes or something.
Yeah, included. Wider sidewalks for ADA compliance and of the completion of projects.
If only we could get the people to use the crosswalks.
Yeah. Finished. It was at the fall of 2024 that this all finished, right?
I think it was earlier than that.
Yeah,
You think it was
earlier.
summer. So, and we can share a picture of how it looks, just because I think it does look fabulous. So I'm pretty sure I have a picture. All right, so I may wordsmith this a little bit, but it will remain largely the same as what we've listed and talked about here. Okay. Anything else that we would want to make note of?
I'm not sure if it's a note here, but the process that Jeff described, it should cause us to think about ways that we can use a similar process to get things done. You know, it sounds like there was kind of a seed, then there was some credibility brought it with sort of like an expert, almost like testimony. Then there was like a kind of like a wish list presented to somebody in the town who could convert that to a grant or funding proposal.
Yeah.
You know, another example of that could be a target would be Kenny Dunn Square. And I don't know if it'd be a complete streets project, but I just wonder if there's a similar way to go about that.
Well, I know that the Public Works Department did apply for a grant for Kenny Dunn Square. I can't remember the name of the grant group, but it's like Mass Works or something like that. And they did not have it accepted, unfortunately. So they tried. And so I feel like, you know, all of our talking about it and raising it has caused some action. It's just that nothing successful has occurred yet.
Yeah, that's a tricky one too, because I mean, Green Thumbs is looking at it, and then the MCI people are looking at it. Like it really needs a kind of universal approach with all the different groups. Feels bigger than WCAC, even though it's right in our backyard.
Yeah. And I know, so maybe this is, are we okay with this letter? Like, I don't know that we need to necessarily, it's not even a letter, it's a annual report. I don't know that we need to vote on it necessarily.
No.
Maybe we should vote on it
Looks
just
good.
in, okay, we think it looks good. Because it's not complete yet, because I've got to add the pictures and everything. So this is just still a draft, but I am going to submit something that is very close to this on Friday. And then you'll be able to see the pictures that I'm proposing. I'll circulate those over email, and then we can submit those the following week. So that's what's happening with this. But the fact that we're talking about Kenny Dunn Square and MCI leads me to our matrix, which I know we're not going to have too much time to talk about tonight as it turns out, but I went ahead and took a stab at like using our statuses that we had identified. I created some more columns here, and I then took the liberty of marking some of our items as MCI relevant, and Kenny Dunn Square showed up as that according to my ranking. But I just want to show you what I did and then say maybe what we should do as an assignment for February is everybody go through and look at what I designated, and perhaps if you have other ideas about how things should be classified, then we should talk through that in detail in February. In the meantime, I have to get Elizabeth's input on, I would say, like a good 10 of these different items. So it's still not complete because I need to have her weigh in. And then we can aim for it to be like final in February. But let's see if I can crank up the resolution here and just show this. So I'm going to skip past policies and regulations, but let's see. So here you can see we've got Kenny Dunn Square listed for two options. One is a roundabout, one is a T intersection. And over here, I marked that as it's not been started. And we had, last time we met, we said we wanted to say, like, is the issue that was raised in this matrix less important, about the same, more important than it was in 2010 when the matrix was developed? And like, for instance, I classified Kenny Dunn Square as more important now and also MCI relevant. And the rationale for that is like, there's going to be more activity at the MCI property, and also like all these other multifamily developments that are happening in West Concord. And we know that's going to cause more people to pass through Kenny Dunn Square. It just is going to be a reality. Like, folks are going to try to get to Route 2 and they're going to pass through that Kenny Dunn Square, I guess, intersection, if you want to call it that, to get to Route 2, or be coming from Route 2 to come into the village. And I think we just really want to get it taken care of somehow. If we could make it a part of the MCI project or shine light on it because of MCI, I think we really need to do that. I think this is now the time to really kind of make it important. So anyway, I'll stop there, but I just wanted to share with you some of this classifying that I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, Susan, I think it looks, based on what Elizabeth has said and our original intention for doing this, to make it easy for the folks at the MCI development stuff to sort of get up to speed pretty quickly on what the master plan said and what's still outstanding. So I think those classifications are great.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm thinking maybe what we'll even do is try to move them over more to the left. I mean, I might take this committee member one and take it a bit more deprioritized because we were using that for our own internal tracking, but like giving them the way to look at this and filter it as it exists today, because this is a document with a list from 2010, but we've now kind of brought it up to 2024 timing by adding these other columns. Maybe we need to move them more like over to the left so they're easier to interact with, but I'm not going to do that yet. So yeah, the classifications, I made assessments based on the status and kind of like tried to assign a briefer status for it in this brief status column, and then designated what I think we believe the importance of it is, whether it's relevant for MCI. And then someone had mentioned maybe we should be saying whether or not funding was already available for whatever the project was. And let me filter on this. There aren't any that are MCI relevant, but there are two things that we do have partially funded, and that is the bridge over the Assabet River that would connect Baker Ave with West Concord Village, And then also there's apparently funding coming from Novo, which is a development over at Baker Ave, one of the multifamily developments. They've committed money towards improving, I guess, the intersection between, what is this? Baker Ave and Cottage
Baker
Street.
Avenue, yeah, Baker Avenue.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think we heard from Public Works about that at some point, possibly in 2024, but it also could date back to 2023. But those are the only two things that I know of that we have funding to do, and the funding isn't even really complete for those things. So anyway, I'm thinking what we could do for next time is you can filter by who was assigned a particular thing and look at what I did for classifications. And this is just a suggestion based on what we had all kind of talked through in our meetings. And see if I've classified it properly. If you don't think I have, kind of like make a note about it, and then we can talk it through to get these absolutely correct. And in the meantime, all the ones that are blank are ones I have to talk to Elizabeth about.
Do you want us to, if we make notes in it or suggest alternative wording, do you want us to highlight it or make it in red text or something consistent?
Yeah, I would love that. My conundrum is that this is a shared document and we're supposed to work independently. So kind of not sure how to do that. Maybe what I can do is send out a non-linked version of this to each one of you all, and then you can make your notes about your sections in it, and then just make sure you're referring to those notes when we talk about it in February.
Okay.
Would that work for everyone? I'm sorry that it's so kludgy. I would love to just have us all like collaborating here, but I think because of open meeting law, I'm not allowed to do that. Okay.
I think that works, but I think there's some people, I don't know, who maybe aren't here. So
Yeah.
you might need to make it very clear if we want to turn this around at our next meeting to be done by February, that people need to come to the next meeting with this looked at and notes taken and done.
Yep. You're right. And Nicole isn't here, but I told her that I would catch up with her next week anyway. So I'll make sure I give her those directions, and I'll send it out as a static doc for you all, and then people can have the month to go through it. Okay. All right. I know we have gotten like a little bit off track from our agenda. Let's see if I can even get back to it. Is this it right here? No, those are the minutes. Sorry. Here we go. All right, so the next thing that's on our agenda is actually parking, which I don't have a ton of updates to give. I know that at one point, Mimi from Economic Development was here at our meeting. I think she may have, oh, she's still here. Mimi, is there anything that you want to tell us about related to your work on parking? I know I haven't connected with you in person about it, but I was wondering if maybe you want to talk to us about this.
Yes, the Economic Vitality Committee is working with the Planning Board for a warrant article. We're actually working with them on two warrant articles. One is about changes of use or retail as an accessory use in industrial districts, and it specifically came up because of West Concord. So basically right now, industrial properties that might want to do retail, they're only allowed to do retail of items made on site. So this came up, there was a brewery that was looking at a property in West Concord, and they're like, well, we'd want to have a brew house that would be able to sell T-shirts and sell, assorted things. And that actually isn't allowed by Concord zoning. The soap shop technically should not be selling the items that they're selling. So we're trying to basically address some existing issues and then just be able to maximize some of the properties there. For example, it's like if you're a guitar maker, wouldn't it be great to be able to sell CDs of people performing music using our guitar? so it still maintains that they be accessory uses. So it's limited in size and kind of, it still has to be related to the business, but it lets them be a little more expansive about the type of items that they have for sale. The other warrant article that we're putting forward is looking at changes of use, not triggering parking requirements. So give a couple examples. If there is a property that currently is, say, an office on the ground level, so it might be let's say it's like a real estate office. They would be grandfathered in so many parking spaces if another real estate office went in there. If it became a retail shop, they lose those grandfathered parking spaces and they would have to come up with the full amount of parking spaces that would be required for that particular use. And if you look at the table of uses currently, there's a big mismatch with the existing historic properties in the business districts. So if you look at a lot of the places in West Concord, the commercial property takes up almost the whole footprint. They might, if they're lucky, have a couple parking spaces associated with that particular building. And once they get the change of use, they have to, find those parking spaces. And it becomes basically, then they have to go and get a waiver for those parking requirements. And sometimes those changes of use have a lower parking requirement, but there still is a requirement to go through kind of the machinations. And almost always these waivers are granted. And there was a good phrase that somebody in the planning board went and said, is like, if we're having to give so many exceptions, instead of the exception proving the rule, maybe we need to change the rule. So basically the proposal is if it's an existing building, you're not changing the square footage whatsoever. If there's a change of use, that there not be a parking requirement. So economic vitality is moving forward with that. We're sort of working with the planning board. They will be the key sponsor of it, but we're kind of shopping it around and getting feedback from folks. We're basing this on a couple different things. One, I worked with the GIS office and basically looked at in the commercial districts, pretty much every square foot is either built out or it's got a building on it. So it's not like there's any place to find more parking. We're sort of looking at how to maximize the activity on the existing buildings that we've got. And that's the best way to actually, it's better for the environment. It's better for historic preservation. There's sort of a whole bunch of reasons why it's good to use the existing buildings that we've got to their maximum. And the other thing that we've been doing is sort of looking at the parking studies that have been done in the business districts that found that there is available parking. Oftentimes it's a question around shared parking or using private parking. So as you all know, the zoning is really about private parking that's exclusive to that building rather than recognizing all of the shared parking, public parking that might be available in the neighborhood. So we're sort of trying to remove this one barrier and recognize that it's kind of, it's a big super parking there and the individual properties are working it out. So I wanted to kind of come to chat with all of you and to get a sense about what your thoughts are in that warrant article.
I mean, I've probably thought about this a lot just because I was at the planning board yesterday about another couple of parking warrant articles. And I like what you said about it being a soup of parking. I really do see that when I go to West Concord Junction, like MBTA parking not fully used, parking over down near the wheelhouse not fully used, parking on the street, sometimes full, sometimes not. I think I took down the stat that there are like 2,772 spots in West Concord. So that's like over 2,700 spots. And I feel like there's no way there are 2,700 people parking and shopping simultaneously in West Concord Junction ever. We should be so lucky. And I would love to see our parking more fully utilized. And it is kind of heartbreaking to me when developers come in front of our committee and they are needing to install or find a bunch of parking to make their building work. And what we really want is more activity in West Concord Junction, not less, not more empty parking spaces, if you see what I'm saying. So that's maybe a bit of oversharing from me. But I'd love to hear from some of the other committee members on the thoughts you've had about parking as we've continued kind of touching on it pretty much in every meeting we've had during 2024.
I mean, I think that's really well said, Susan. So I just hope that we can get that into the conversation and have something implemented, right?
Yeah. Mimi, is there anything we can do specifically in West Concord related to parking signage, like anything we can try to catalyze in terms of getting better directions for folks who might not know their way around West Concord to find parking spots successfully? I think there are different signs that say, definitely don't park here if you are patronizing X business. And those aren't super hospitable signs, but they exist right now. How can we be like positively showing people you are welcome to park here and direct them to various like public parking locations?
The West Junction Cultural District Committee alerted me to, I didn't even realize that that was a public parking lot next to the dry cleaners. So alerting people to that one in particular, I think is kind of a key one. I do feel like the one that's, if you go by the train station and kind of behind the depot, I think folks maybe don't recognize, it feels a little worrisome of like, am I allowed to park there? How much does it
Right.
cost? I think that is a little bit of a challenge. So I feel like that lot, those two lots in particular are maybe ones that need some directional signage.
Yep.
Can I ask a question? Because last time we talked about this over the summer, one of the issues we talked about was the fact that it would be nice to have sort of big blue P signs, like Lexington Center has, where there's something directing people to the public parking, because here you just have to kind of know about it. Was that part of something that was worked on by another committee and discussed, or is it strictly just the requirements and the laws around parking that you've been working on?
So with the Economic Vitality Committee, it's been exclusively about the policy.
Okay.
There's the Transportation Advisory Committee does some stuff on signage. I've been working with businesses as the Economic Vitality Manager on things like businesses wanting a 15-minute parking space, that type of designation. It has been coming up a lot about sort of that wayfinding signage in general, and it's one of those that it doesn't quite fit in any staff person's line.
Wheelhouse.
Exactly, and especially when we lost our transportation planner. So there's going to be actually a new director of planning and land use. The folks maybe know Megan Zamuto had been sort of wearing two hats as deputy town manager and head of community planning, which oversees planning, building, health, natural resources. A new person is going to be starting at the end of this month, Elisa Sandoval. That was just announced, I think, yesterday. And we're looking forward to, we're hoping that she'll be able to take on some of these projects that have been falling through the cracks with everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, what you're working on sounds great. I think we were sort of coming at it from that other angle, and then the other part is when we hear that when the developers come to us about residential things, and we heard that you have to have 1.5 parking spots for every bedroom, but in a lot of towns, especially near a train station, it's like 0.5 or 0.2. So that's been limiting what can be done as well. So I guess I was just quiet because I wasn't quite sure how all those other pieces fit into what you just described. But what you just described sounds good and helpful.
Yeah, it's one piece of it. I recognize the planning board last night was talking about how to address the parking requirements for residential. And part of the conversation was, right now there's a differential between affordable and market rate housing. And then they were sort of looking at it for multi-unit properties versus single family. So I think they're looking forward to, and maybe Wendy, you can speak a little bit more of that, because I think you were at that meeting too, about another article that they're looking at approaching that way. We're now kind of, I suppose the way would be if we bundled all these parking things together, but when the EVC started, there was no parking coming forward, so we sort of moved the part that was in our lane.
Yeah, it's just a comment on that. They are looking at residential parking. And so the problem isn't with the small houses they talked about. And Elizabeth's going to go back and talk to the consultant about what is an appropriate standard, or should we have a different standard for those multifamilies that are sort of 10 to 12 units or more, because that's where I think they're having issues. So just to follow up, that was the warrant article, that one of the two warrant articles the planning board's looking at. The other is sort of a shared parking warrant, which would change the way, if you have a common space, that you'd look at parking requirements based on the different types of business in the shared community, and then look at it by hour. So we're not sort of oversizing the parking requirements for a particular development. So I think it's all good. And hopefully they'll get it fine tuned enough to get a good article together. So they're interested. So.
Yeah, I feel really hopeful. Yeah, I know. So which committee would you say is the furthest along in doing anything on signage? Because I think we're very thirsty to try and resolve some of these, what we see as like basic issues with people not knowing how to park appropriately in West Concord. Like in many cases, people not from around Concord, because most Concord folks know, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would talk to Elizabeth. I'm not as close to what's going on with the transportation committee, but the other issue with signage is you want it to be Concord wide, right? So I don't know what our town standard is for signage. We have green peas, right? I think in some of them. So it might be a discussion with her. And then to Mimi's point, we have a new director who might have some insight in on that, but I'm not sure if anyone's actively pursuing it as much as you are, but maybe with the transportation committee and Elizabeth, you can get more insight.
Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the transportation committee is on our list of folks to try to actively liaise with during this year, and maybe we can pair up with them and try to get something moving on that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any comments or thoughts or feedback for Mimi on the parking suggestions that she had just mentioned?
One thing that would be helpful is the Economic Vitality Committee is sort of looking at sort of a frequently asked questions or ways of addressing whatever concerns might come up, because we do want to be successful at town meeting. So if there's things that folks have heard that might be concerns that we might want to address, like I know some folks are like, oh, all the cars are going to be moving into the neighborhoods, and are there other things like that we can try to respond to proactively?
I guess my only comment to the whole thing is that, like, living here for the last 14 years, my perspective has been that there's been no consistency between downtown and West Concord. Okay, there's things that are done downtown that we've seen them get better in West Concord, but I do feel like we need to get some more symmetry within the town with the signage and all this other stuff that we're talking about. And I guess that's my only feedback, is that I'm glad we're moving in this direction, just because this gets us one step closer to having some sort of, I guess, saying, hey, we are Concord. It's not we're Concord and West Concord, and having more clarity on this side of town is definitely important. And I think I guess that's just my only thought, and I'm glad we're going in this direction. So I like everything I'm hearing, and believe that hopefully we'll see it, as it improves, we'll just see it more and more getting there. And I appreciate that. So thank you, Mimi.
Yeah. I feel like maybe some of the folks who are thinking, oh no, if there aren't enough parking spots in these village center areas, then those people who need to park are going to be parking like right in front of my home. I mean, I think a way to solve that is to make certain that people are directed to the appropriate parking for them. And the other thing I wonder is if any of the businesses in our town centers have parking guidance for their customers on their website, for instance. Like I haven't checked recently. I think I was looking, at the West Village Tavern's website, for instance, just curiously, because I know they are grandfathered in to not have to provide parking for their location, and they don't necessarily have any guidance for people on parking, and maybe they just assume everyone knows where to park. But I would say, like, it would be great if they did kind of direct people to various public lots. Maybe they do at this point, and I just haven't seen it recently, but it's just an example of how you can like proactively manage some of this, as opposed to like waiting for it to become a problem. Like if we're all going to be sharing spots, which I think we want people to do, I think we just need to point out where folks can have the most success in parking easily to have a great visit wherever they're going.
Mhm. Agreed.
All right, so I think next steps for us is try to make contact with the Transportation Advisory Committee, which I can reach out to them, unless I think, Barbara, are you a liaison with them? I can't remember exactly what our liaison assignments are off the top of my head, but I was thinking for some reason you were maybe going to their meetings. Is that right?
I don't remember either right now. Planning, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think transportation. I was doing
Okay.
trails for a while.
Trails. Okay. It was a T
They both
name, and
start with
that's
a
what I was
T,
thinking
right.
of. Um,
But I don't
yeah.
think transportation. We've had somebody come to our meetings as an observer from the Transportation Committee. Maybe we just
Mhm.
need to get them back.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So I think, yeah, we can reach out to them, and I'm also going to reach out to Elizabeth because I have a lot of things I need to ask her about to see like what the right direction is on this whole parking signage thing. But I would like to keep going after it until we can know that someone is steering it towards whatever needs to happen, whether it's the select board approving the signs going up or what the signs are going to be designed like. It seems like low hanging fruit, and it seems like it should happen in tandem with all of these other great adjustments that are going to be made that help us stop building out more and more parking that we probably don't need.
If indeed there are 20, would you say 2,700 parking spots in West Concord?
Yeah.
What
That is
about
shocking, by the way. I
Right,
can't
Yeah.
just
believe
a
that.
little simple sign that goes in everybody's window or on their counter that says there are 2,700 parking spaces in West Concord. Here's where they are. That forget putting a blue sign with a big P on it, because that's going to take a long time to happen. But I think even just starting to tell people there really
Yeah.
is plenty of parking. Let us show you where it is. And yes, I know people often just want to park right in front of the store, but that's not realistic anywhere. And maybe that's a really simple way to start. With somebody
Yeah,
with
create
good
a little
graphic.
map and
Yeah.
have
Right.
every business hand them out, or have a
Exactly.
central
A
little.
little map, a little graphic planning, and hand it out to all the businesses. They can put one in their window and they can put one inside this, something simple. Anyway,
If folks wouldn't mind, I could share with you the map I did of West Concord showing the parking. I think it was
well,
startling to me.
we believe you now that you've told us, but to be honest,
I'm sorry, I don't believe you, so do show it.
almost
Mimi, I need to
9:20
be.
at night. I'm just about done with meetings at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So if you could see this, all the yellow, that's parking. And the brown are the buildings. So you can see any of the orange ones are actually residential houses. So they're the only ones that get a little bit of green space around them.
And when you say that's parking, Mimi, that's public parking, like no restrictions, or that's.
It's paved for parking. So we didn't go through what the restrictions were or not.
Okay.
That was a little more challenging. And I think that's one of the things. It's like it's hard to like police who's able to park where when.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the area around Woods Hill Table, that's not open public parking.
Right. Or the one
Right.
around Adelita and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make a distinction and start at least with that's really
Truly
available public parking, and then gradually move towards trying to get people not to hog all of their parking when they're not open. Nobody can park here, even though we're not open for 6 more hours. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and part of the conversations we've had in the Economic Vitality Committee is that the current zoning encourages people to hoard their parking because
Mm.
they're required by the zoning to make their own parking lot for their customers.
Yeah.
So then some of them, it's like a liability issue. Then it's, if they try to give it to another property, they have to have sort of this formal agreement that then limits their own ability to use their own property. So that sense of making it each business having it private is undermining it for the overall.
Yeah. So Mimi, like if we created some sort of signage that say our committee like drafted and then we shopped around a bit, do you think that the businesses in West Concord would be open to having like a little, like plastic sign, near the cash register or even at the window or something that just like publicizes these public parking locations so that when their customers come and go, they can start getting acquainted with their options?
Well, I have two thoughts. One is I'm going to be presenting this parking ordinance at the next Transportation Advisory Committee for February. So maybe
Okay.
going back to your thing about like how can we work in tandem? That's one.
Yeah.
Folks probably know about the Guitar Museum that's coming in.
hmm
And that's right at the entrance to the parking lot. So that might be a way of like outside of how challenging it can be to work with town departments. Maybe Jennifer would be open to like having a temporary sign there of like parking, since it's going to be a while for her to redevelop it. And that's a way of testing, like, is that effective for getting people to go in? That's another one. And then the third one is, in my experience, it's been Public Works that does those signs. So planning might encourage, but then it's kind of like, then planning has to go to talk to Public Works. So right now, the Transportation Advisory Committee is being staffed by the Public Works Department. So I think that might be our most successful angle if that's the direction folks want to go in. Thinking about, because that feels like the main lot, the main entrance that is the place to direct people to.
Yeah. So you're saying put a sign located where the what was it that the reusable goods shop used to be, that the Guitar Museum is going to be, put a sign in on their property if Jennifer agrees to direct people to the commuter rail lot, which is our biggest resource of public parking.
Yeah, that might be one sign might be the most effective way to go. That's one thought.
Yeah. And we'd have to get approval for a sign through Public Works and the planning board and select
If
board.
if it's on private property, you don't need approval because they're allowed to have
Oh,
two signs on private property.
huh. Okay. That's interesting. So we'd have to figure out how to pay to have a sign made, but then we could put it up if Jennifer agreed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it would be good to be able to work with Public Works,
Yeah.
because they would have sort of the standard P sign, and maybe it might be a matter of going and scoping out exactly where there might already be an existing pole that we could work on.
Yep. Okay. Is there any of our committee members who wants to go over and take a couple of pictures to see like what the poles are in the vicinity of where the Guitar Museum is going to go, which is, I think you guys know, it's like on kind of like the other side of the commuter rail parking lot driveway, and think about like what the optimal positioning of some sort of sign for parking would be?
I can do that. So you're talking about in the driveway of what used to be a new leaf,
The new leaf.
Yeah.
but pointing people to before that to get into the commuter rail.
Yeah, it might not here. I can screen share again and I can show you what for folks that, and this is always hard to kind of do unless you're on the
That
ground.
sort of grassy area between the two properties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is going to be the new Guitar Museum. And if we're looking at this entrance, maybe there's a way of putting a sign on their property over here. Or this is,
Where the stop sign is.
yeah,
Where-
I see
where-
there's actually a parking sign here, but I guess it's not positioned very well.
Right, it's not positioned well.
Yeah. People would want to see it from the other side.
And it's kind of pointing you in not the right way.
Yeah.
Right, it makes you think they mean along the street.
Yeah.
We need one on the other side
Yeah.
Yeah.
as well. Okay. Well, you have a picture.
Yeah, yeah, we can see it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get in touch with Jennifer anyway, because I wanted her to come to our committee to talk about their development plan. So why don't
Mm.
I kind of float the idea and see also what her timing is for like developing that lot. It could be that it's going to take all year or something. I don't know, but it would be an interesting idea to be able to put a sign there. That would help us. But I mean,
wonder-
Mimi, do you think that individual businesses would be willing to, if it looked professional, to have some kind of like placard or communication about parking availability, even if it's just directing people to that commuter rail lot? Like, did you know that that's public parking for visitors to West Concord Village?
Every business is different. So it's really kind of a bespoke process. So it's hard to speak for them.
Okay. What's a good way for us to get in front of the folks from the West Concord Village business owners? Is it to come to an economic vitality meeting because they come to your meetings? Is it to walk around and speak to them? Like what would you recommend?
If you're wanting to reach out to the businesses, it's really about going out and walking around to visit with them. They have like a little email list, but usually it's when they're organizing one of the, Spring into West Concord Day or that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's kind of very mission oriented.
Yeah.
But I find just going around and chatting with folks is the best way to go, to get their take on things.
Okay. And is that something that you would, I guess, kind of like approve if our committee wanted to get out and be speaking with them? Like we don't want to ruffle feathers or make people think like we're trying to do a parking grab or something. It's quite the opposite. We're just looking for utilization for the resources we already have to make it easier to come and do business in West Concord Village.
I think the more conversations on how to support businesses, the better. So I think that's always great to do.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, so the Economic Vitality Committee is going to be doing a business survey, and it's specifically around kind of we're sort of wanting to address some of the vacancies that are in the business districts. So we're kind of creating a customer profile and trying to figure out, okay, what would be some of the good matches for particular properties? What type of business would be the good fit and to be able to recruit them? And we originally had some parking questions as part of that, but if you've ever had a conversation with a business owner, everybody loves to talk about parking. And we felt like it was going to take us too far off the central mission of it. So we took it out. So the parking question is wide open for discussion.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. All right. So I know like our meeting has gone way over what we thought it would be, but it's been super productive. So I'm glad that we've been able to have all this discussion. For next meeting, would all our members be amenable to dividing up the businesses in West Concord Village to go and have some of these conversations? I'm not saying we would do it before next meeting necessarily, but during next meeting, we could kind of like go through a list and each take 3 businesses or so to talk to about parking to just get a sense for, all of the things they have to say and their amenability to being part of the solution to direct people to the freely available public parking in the village.
Sure, isn't
I
this what
think,
we thought we were going to do 3 meetings ago?
Yeah, I didn't want to kind of step over Mimi's survey or do anything that was conflicting with what she had going on, but it seems like we're all clear. I mean, if you guys are willing to stay for a couple more minutes, we could do the division now, or if you want me to like send an email and assign 3 places and we could do it by next meeting. I don't want to overload people. I know that the year has just started, so I want to do a
I'm
temperature
pretty
check
much
on
done
that.
for tonight.
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Okay.
think that we did decide that we wanted to have some kind of consistency with the questions that we asked, and that was where we left it.
Yeah. I
But I
I
still think that's a
received
good idea.
Yeah, I got some questions from everybody, not everybody, but a few people. And so I was starting to dedupe those. And I think maybe what I should do is circulate out that list of questions as it stands right now and see if folks have anything they'd like to add or if they want to simplify it. And then we could decide that we're going to talk to these businesses between the next like 2 months or something like that. If people wanted to get started talking to folks in advance of our next meeting, just keep record of who you're talking to and like email the group and say, these are the folks I am talking to so that nobody else goes and talks to them. But yeah, depending on how much time you have, it's certainly something that we need to do.
As long as, again, we agree on the approach, that we don't want to all be taking a different tack.
Yeah,
And so as long as we can agree on what those questions are, how we should approach it in a uniform way.
yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. So we can maybe resolve some of this over email. I'll send emails out to the entire group, and then I guess you do need to get back to me with your feedback, and then I need to consolidate it. But
Yeah.
I think the questions hopefully will be simple enough, and will lead to some great conversations and good insight.
So
And
we're looking at the master plan and we're reviewing it, only the parts that we did or the whole thing?
you can review more than your parts. Yeah, I welcome that. I think, yeah, if you have time to do that, that would be great. I didn't want to make people do like all 60-ish rows, but I think, yeah, the filters do make it a little bit easier because you can see things grouped together. So yes,
And then we're looking at the questions that you send out and thinking
yeah,
about them.
yes,
Got it.
yeah, yeah. And I'll be reaching out to a bunch of different people, including Jennifer from the Guitar Museum. It sounds like Mimi's going to be at the Transportation Advisory Committee in February, and maybe that is a meeting we would want to go to support what she's talking about and also lend our insight about the parking conversations we've had. But I'll take a look and see when that meeting is, and we can mobilize over email.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting since it's been kind of long. Oh, either Jeff or Krista has a question or a comment.
Hi, sorry, yeah, I thought you were gonna do public comment at the end.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's
Okay. You are our public comment.
Yeah, no, very interesting meeting. And I just since the Guitar Museum came up, I wanted to say that I had on West Concord Day, I had a nice conversation with, I think the husband's name is Wilson, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
and
another Wilson?
another
So-
Wilson, yeah.
Can you believe
I
it? Oh my
love-
gosh.
I love what they're trying to do. It sounds awesome, and he was really nice and everything. And I asked him about the tree, the honey locust tree there,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, I'm afraid the tree's gonna have to go because," and he seemed to be under the impression that the guidelines suggested they should build a new building right up to the sidewalk edge. And I was like, "Oh, that's a shame." And so I came home and looked at the guidelines and saw that that the guidelines sort of also offer this alternative idea of creating like little pocket parks or something like that. So I just wanted to sort of throw it out there to when they do come to the advisory committee, to sort of say, like, is there any way we can create, like, you can design creatively to keep that tree, make a little, teeny little pocket park that, hopefully would enhance the design of the building, and because that's really our only mature tree on that whole stretch of Commonwealth. So
Krista, after you mentioned that to me when I saw you last, I emailed Susan because I was so upset about it because, as you said, it's a beautiful tree.
yeah,
And I would really hate to see that go. It truly is it's kind of like there's a tree on the vineyard that's like this very special tree then at this corner that I feel like that's kind of the role it plays. So I don't know what they can do to incorporate it into their plans, but it's a very good point in my opinion.
yeah, thanks, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So I will mention that. I'll take a look at the design guidelines. Do you remember, Krista, like what chapter or like number you found that
Oh,
information under? I can look for it too.
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago that I
Okay.
looked it up, so I don't remember.
Okay. So I'll point that out to them because I did talk to the other half of that couple, Jennifer, also at like the West Concord Holiday Stroll, and she was saying that they were getting together with their architect like soon in the new year and trying to figure out plans. So it could be the exact right time to bring up their alternative to taking the tree down.
Better sooner than after they've started.
Exactly.
Are
Yeah.
they from Concord, Susan? I don't really know anything about them.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think the guitars, some of the ones that are going to go in the museum are part of a collection that they've been shepherding elsewhere. And so they're looking for a building to have their display be in and bring in other folks' guitars as well. And then put some kind of retail on the first floor of the building. That's kind of what they were describing when I spoke to Jennifer.
Okay.
Yeah. But it seems like it's going to be a great addition to our town. I'm really excited about it.
Okay,
So
thank
we'll
you.
see if we can get them in for February or March. Jennifer totally was interested in coming to present, but she just said January would be too soon. Yep. Great. All right. So now that we've had our public, well, I'll ask, is there any other public comment?
One thing, maybe the
Oh.
WCAC could write a letter about how much West Concord wants to preserve that tree. To whoever
That's what I
needs to
was
see
like.
it.
I was thinking about, yeah, doing a letter, but we don't have anything to write a letter about yet because they haven't proposed their development. So
But
I
they might
You
just
don't
cut
want to
it
get
down
them
one day.
too, yeah, I don't know. And also you don't want Jennifer and Wilson to get so far ahead that they haven't, now then they've attached themselves to these plans that definitely remove the tree. Like, I'm just concerned about them getting too far in their architectural process.
yeah. So when I reach out to them, I guess what I should say is please don't make any plans related to the tree until you speak to our committee. We're like very interested in your building and we're so excited about your concept, but we have we're attached to the tree and would love to have the design guidelines work to preserve it because there is allowance for that to happen in the design guidelines.
Yeah, and I mean, our vision for West Concord includes, the natural environment and
Yeah,
connected to not that we're obsessed with the tree, but like that it's really part of our strategic plan and vision for West Concord. And there's no other tree in our town, in this area of the town, that's even close to the beauty and size of that tree.
yeah, I like that. Okay. So if I learn anything between now and our next meeting about the tree, I will certainly send you guys an email and let you know so that we're all on the same page.
We don't want it to be like the giving tree and the trees cut down.
I know.
I'm gonna cry if that happens.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. With that, no other business to conduct. We are adjourning our meeting.